Hi guys, I am Nu-Trix the Synth guy, and today I will actually go deeper into the synthesis of the Novation circuit. As I told you in other videos, the circuit is really powerful. It actually includes two Nova Synths from Novation. These Nova Synths, their structure and engine and synthesis were built in the early 2000s, but it's still today very powerful. It's a little bit like the first generations of virtual synthesis, what they call it, digital recreation of analog synthesizers. They're really powerful because they give options of things that you would hardly find in analog synth at the cost of these devices. And that's why in the Novation circuit you find two of them. If you want to compare it to another type of synth, you could compare it to the JP8000 from Roland. You know, it's about the same era and time. So what we'll do together is we'll go through the editor that is from the company Isotonic. The link to download the Isotonic will be in the description below. But Isotonic is free. There's a paid version, but the free version works correctly. The USB needs to be hooked up to your computer, and basically it works. You know, after that you just need to load up the software and you will see the circuit as a media interface, and we'll be able to talk to it and receive to it. Now, I'll show you how it works. Let's look at it together. In the editor you have full, macros, or session. Now if you see macros, you only see the values of the 8 knobs that you have on top of the Novation circuit, like these knobs here, what they're standing for. And when you move them, you see on screen the value changes. Okay, so it's really linked in real time. That's really cool because you see what you're doing right away. Now macros for me are actually a good thing, because if you don't like the way Novation has assigned these to the sound, but you still like the sound, it's a very quick way to fix the reaction of the sound. Let's say you don't like the fact that the volume up, you have that sound. So what does that one changes? Well, it changes the oscillator to index, the oscillator to wave interpolation, the oscillator 1 index also, and the oscillator 1 wave interpolate. Okay, now before we go deeper in that, let's look at what these means. You go into full and you see the rest of the synthesis appear on screen. And this is the whole, you know, the bottom part you have here is the synthesis engine. Well, actually the name is there also. You see synth engine control, it's over there. And then at the right of that you've got the modulation matrix. And you have like 20 different slots for sources and destination, and that's really powerful. It's a very deep matrix. Most people don't use, you know, more than the first page because they get what they want right away. The macros, you've got 8 of them, and each of the macros you've got 4 destination possible. You've got the start position, the end position, and the depth of the movement. And you have the destination here. The list is here. So all of the list is linked to basically the features you have in the synthesis. So let's go through the synthesis. First of all, you've got the oscillator section. The oscillator, you've got oscillator 1 and 2. Well, where you have the name itself, you also have the name of the wave that you play. Now, these are wave tables. When you change the wave here, you see the name change. These are physical model of analog wave shapes. And then after the PW, this is pulse width, you go into wave tables. Pretty cool, because these are like super small samples if you want. And the list, I mean, you've got like 29 waves, shapes. Can I initialize? Here you go. Initialize current patch. That's it. Initialized. So these are the wave shape for the original sound. Then, oh, sorry, let's go back to 0 here. The wave index, that's cool. It's basically where do you play inside the wave. So it creates that movement. It sounds a little bit like pulse width modulation. That's the sync depth. What's really fun is that you have sync depth here on a single oscillator, which is not normal. This is only possible because this is a virtual synth, but an analog synth, for having sync between, you need two oscillators to be synced together. So one is synced to the second one, or actually the second one is synced to the first one. In this case, having sync means that this one is synced to, and it creates that sync sound, which is virtual by itself. Now, you have also oscillator 2 that you can hear. In this case, we're actually not only listening to oscillator 1, because if you look at the mixer section at the bottom here, you've got oscillator 1, which has volume, oscillator 2 has nothing. So even if you have only oscillator 1, you still hear sync value, which is pretty cool, meaning the oscillator 1 has plenty of different, power in the sense of the timbre you can create. Then you got density. And density detune. That's a little bit when I'm talking about having something like a super saw. Let's say we're going to go for a sawtooth, and if you get rid of density, to put it to 0, here 0, you get one sawtooth. Bring it up. There are many of them, and then you can see how much each of them are detuned. So you go from something that is wider to very static sound. So pretty cool. And again, that's just for oscillator 1. You can do the same thing with 2. So you click on top here, and then you modify the second one. So you've got 2 of them. Interesting. Really, they have the same values for each of them. Again, semitone and send, which is the basic stuff, and pitch bend, how much you want the pitch bend to affect this. Of course, you can mix them together. You get also 1, 2 ring modulation, which is you can actually ring modulate the first one to the second one. Let's bring the second one up. You got noise level. Bring noise in, and you got pre-effects and post-effects. So you can have effects used here. You've got distortion, chorus, and you get an EQ to finish the end. So these are more depending on what you want fix in your sound. Let's say I don't touch them for now. So you've got this for the, let's get rid of the ring modulation and the oscillator 2 just to have the first one to hear what we're doing. Okay. Then you've got the filter. So you have a low pass filter. Here you can choose between low pass 12 dB per octave. So the slope of the low pass 12, 24, band pass 6 dB, band pass 12 dB per octave, high pass 12, and high pass 24. The low pass 24 being the classic, Moog type of. And then you have the filter, cutoff point, and the frequency. You've got the tracking. Do you want the filter to open and close following the keys? You want the resonance. You've got the Q norm. Now Q norm, I was like wondering what this was, and what's cool about this is because this actually used the Nova engine, I went on Novation website and I downloaded the official Nova tabletop synth that was released in 2000 something, the manual, and not all of them, but most of the parameters are there in that manual, which is a big manual with a lot of information. I was able to find that the Q norm, which is here, the Q norm is basically kind of a normalization in volume if you bring more Q. Well, the Q is resonance, and usually in a lot of analog synth, when you bring more resonance, it will boost up the volume, so the rest of the sound would kind of be squashed down. So the norm, the Q norm, is to actually help the volume stay the same, or so either you use a lot of it or less, and it will change depending if you have resonance. So when you bring resonance on and it becomes really loud, Either you want it to become loud or you want it to stay the same level. So if it stays the same level, it means everything else in the sound will be dropped down. So it's kind of a compressor, if you want, or a limiter on how the volume will not go up. But so if it doesn't go up and the Q does, which is Q is also the name we use for resonance, everything will be squashed down. Then you've got envelope to frequency, so it means that you can use envelope for the filter envelope to be sent to the cutoff point if you want. Now, a cool thing is you have a drive, so you have a distortion before getting into the filter. So and you have different type of distortion. We got diode, valve, clipper. You have crossover. You have rectify. You have depth. And you have sample rate. So a lot of noisy options there, which is cool. And that is before the filter. So this will be filtered out depending what you want, and resonance if you want. You also have a distortion at the end. So there's a distortion you can actually have pre-effect or post-effect, so depending what you want here. Interesting thing in the filter section, there's a normal value here, meaning the filter will affect both every sound after the mixer, or you can only affect two, meaning oscillator 1 is bypassed, so one will be cleaned, and oscillator 1 and 2 will be bypassed. So if you do that, then it's other things like the noise that will be filtered, okay, because then that one will not be bypassed. Then you have the LFOs. You've got LFO 1 and 2, two of them, which is, you know, really decent. And you have different waves. Now that's the cool thing, is you've got a lot of choices here. Let's say we bring the distortion down, just open the sound so we hear what we're doing, and we will send this. So you have the LFO rate, so the speed, common sync. Common sync is that if you play many notes together, they will be all playing at the same LFO, or if you don't have common sync, they will be all playing their own LFO, so it's a separate one. Single trigger, multi-trigger. You have fade in and fade out, gate in and gate out. The way the LFO can come in, you want it to don't exist and then gradually come in, or be there and gradually fade out, or just appear and stop. So these are different. The fade in is one of the most common one that you have here. Yeah, the sync is free running or key sync, so meaning the node will be catching the LFO where it is. That's free running. Or when you put in a key sync, it will only trigger it, so it's going to be always having the same movement. And the rate, do you want it to be a slave to tempo or not? So if it's off, it's free running, and if it's something else, it's going to be following the tempo. Now here, when you look at it, there's nothing telling you where you want to send it. That's just the value of the LFO. You have the wave, the phase offset, so to change how it works, the slew rate, how it's going to glide between sound, delay, how much it's going to wait before it gets in, and that's going to be linked to the fade mode. But there's no destination here. It's really just the LFO. So you need to go into the mod matrix over there and say, okay, I'm going to send from the LFO 1, and I want to send it to actually 1 plus and minus, so you're going to go over and under the value, and I'm going to send that to where is my filter frequency here. So then I'm going to bring the value, the depth up. I'm going to switch it to second. It's going to be easy. So we hear this one. And when it's maximum here, let's bring the filter down. So hear the movement. Perfect. Okay. Want it to be faster? Now let's try different shapes. And you see the shape change in here. Square, time, sample and hold, piano envelope. It's kind of weird. There's like sequences. That's pretty cool. Keep in mind that they can be synced to tempo. Just moving between the different shape of the LFOs. You can really use that in a song in a way. Minor 7, minor arp 2. Dun, 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 dun. That's pretty cool. Then there's diminish minor, there's a minor third, pedal. What is that? You got fourth and a minor, and there's a bunch of them. So this is interesting. I mean, there's just a lot of these different shape of LFO. So you get out of the normal norm of just low, sine, sawtooth, square, and all that stuff. There's a bunch of them. There's like 37. And some are really, wacky and fun. So this is pretty powerful, and the option you have here, the delay. Let's say put it on. It could take some time before it kicks in. Gate in. Let's try this longer. You see? Then it starts. So that's the time it takes before the LFO kicks in. So you could use that for, let's say, vibrato. You could play the note and then you hold it, and then it starts vibrating. But when you just play the attack, you don't have the sound vibrating. So that's interesting. All of these destinations can have different sources. I mean, and you can combine two at the same time. You can say, I'm going to send LFO to my cutoff point, and also I'm going to send the filter to the cutoff point, which is the two can happen at the same time. There's also a little section called voice control, where you have the choice of portamento between the notes, and you want it to be polyphonic or monophonic. When it's monophonic, then you have the notion of portamento, and the glide can be used in this case. That's the synthesis of the Novation circuit. It's really powerful. Now let's say we want to take the sound that they have here, let's say basic square. So I'm going to click here and listen to it. So I like this sound, whatever. It's a cool sound. But I don't like the fact that when I do this, I've got the LFO. Well, that's not so bad. When I do the other one, I've got filter resonance. Okay, what is this one? This sends 4 different things. It changes the destination, the envelope, the filter decay, the filter attack. So you have a longer. It changes totally the way it sounds, it reacts in the right way or the other way, or no reaction. Okay. And this one is resonance. So we got filter frequency and resonance here. Okay. That's detuning the second oscillator. You got modulation matrix. So how many? That's the depth of matrix 2, which is in this case this one here, which is LFO 1 sent to filter frequency. Okay, so this is how much you want this thing, and then you have how much noise you want, and the chorus. What could be cool is, let's say you like that sound, but you don't like the choices that you have here because you might feel you would like to do something else with it. So you could just reassign the macros to something else, and then resave that and keep that in your Novation as the one you want. Keeping in mind that when you change the values in the song, it's saved with the song. So it could be a way to just do what you want, Just showing you the different sound they have. And it gives you the idea of how they patch stuff up, you know. If you like that sound, but you would like to be more distortion, then you put the drive up. Let's try another distortion. You can also hear there's distortion. Let's say you do something, you load, I don't know, I'm going to load a sound here. This one, okay? I have the sound. I can actually get current patch from circuit. I have it on screen and I can see how it's done. If you want to, again, tweak it, you can. And if you want to know the destination, again, you can see them here. Oscillator 2, this is controlling the synth, so you're detuning the second one. There's ring modulation of volume here. There's like 4 different destination. And look at this, this is interesting. You have, for macro 2, you've got value for the filter, for ring modulation. Actually, not the filter, you have the value for the mixer ring modulation value. And then there's the start position and end position and the depth. So the movement you have with this one can be total movement from 0 to maximum. If you go with mixer 1 level, again, from 0 to maximum. And this is inversed. Depth is inverse. So when you bring that up, when you bring that volume up, you're bringing the oscillator 1 level down. When you take the other one here, same thing. You're moving that up, you know. And the synth for the last one, well, you only have from 0 to 27. So the movement that you see is a lot shorter. The range of the movement is a lot shorter. Okay, and once you go from 1 to 27 after that, it doesn't do anything. So if you play it, hear that? Interesting. It gives you ideas of how they patched it up and how they did the sounds, and it gives you ideas of how to learn. If you like some sound, you can easily study this and write down the information, or keep it in mind that when you see that, it gives you that result. So it's pretty cool. And when you're done, you can save it, you know, save the bank to disk. So now the entire bank is saved on your hard drive, and you can upload all patches to circuit. So by loading everything into circuit, you're just erasing the memory of the sounds, and you have yours in it with the macros that you want. That's it. So I hope gives you this. I hope this gives you a good idea of how you can do your own sound on Novation, and it doesn't cost you more. It's one of the free stuff you can load in your computer and use that. And even if you don't want to use this most of the time, write what you don't like about the synth that is built in, and most of the time the sound are good enough. You might want to tweak them a little bit and maybe change the macros, but because some of the choices of the macros are not the one you would choose, you change them to your personal pleasure, and then you save it in your machine, and then you have your own control over the sound that they made, or you erase the one you don't want, and that's it. You've got your own bank. So that's for the synthesis. I'm not talking about sampling today, but just for the synthesis. So I hope this is useful for you guys. Again, if you like what I'm doing, thumb up, share it with your friends. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on my Nu-Trix.com website.